Hi everyone, let's start with the next question, the last question for section A, which is your AA pre-June mock 25. And I've already done the debrief for question number 1 and 2. You can check out the playlist. Let's start. All right, let's first read the case study. I think it's very, very important for us to read the case study, and then we'll start with the question. All right. It is 1st of July 2005. So the current date is 1st July 2005. Your firm is the external auditor of FFF and Company for the year ended 31st March 2005. So their year end is 31st of March 2005. And right now because of course you're reviewing the post year end. So this is after the year end. FFF has been trading for over 20 years and manufactures and sells tables and chairs. So they have a very good experience of 20 years and they've been doing this. Now they have also given us the list of current liabilities in the financial statements. They say the trade payables, accruals, provision for legal action. So previously it was not there. Right now it's there. Your accruals have increased. Your trade payables have also increased. All right. The provision for legal action relates to a claim from a customer who suffered an injury while assembling a chair supplied by FFF. The directors of FFF dispute the claim, although they are recommending an out of court settlement to avoid damaging publicity against FFF. All right. So this 70,000 is for the claim that the customer is probably going to have. We have made a provision for the legal action. All right. Let's read the first question. Which two of the statements below? Two statements, again, very important. Keyword number one. Of the statements below are correct generalizations regarding the factors which will influence the auditor's judgment concerning the sufficiency of the audit evidence obtained. So this is your second keyword. All right. So we have to select two options. Let's read. Less evidence will normally be collected on items that have higher assessed as high risk. Now this is absolutely false. Now this is a very simple statement, very commonsensical statement also, that you will be, of course, if it is a very high risky area, बहुत ज़्यादा risk है, you will be having more evidences, more testing to see what is going to happen. If it is a very not very risky area, तो आप you do very less testing. But if it is a very high risky area, supposedly going concern issue is there the company is facing, or they have a very high litigation, etc., so of course you will be having more evidence. This statement is absolutely wrong, rubbish. Next, where accounting and control systems are poor, more audit evidence is necessary. Of course, if our control system is not working properly, if there are a lot of deficiencies in the control system, we of course will have to do more and more testing, more and more scrutinization, be a more skeptic towards the company. So absolutely, this statement makes sense. Very easy, I guess, right? Where the auditor has good past knowledge of the business and trust the integrity of the staff, less evidence will be required. Of course, if I have good knowledge of the company, and because I have been with the company from very long, I of course in have that integrity, I trust them because they're honest, so I will be probably having lesser evidences than if I go to a new company and I don't know about their businesses, I don't know that staff, if they're truthful or no, right? So for example, of course you might thinking that this will lead to a threat. Of course threat aa sakta hai, but evidences, you will be obtaining lesser evidences, because probably the client has been yours since 10 years, for example. So you already know their processes, you already know their business sense, you already know their policies, procedures, rules, regulations, all of these things. So of course you will be having your evidences, but lesser evidences than compared to a business which is probably new. All right. So this is correct. Where findings from related audit procedures are satisfactory, so we're okay with the findings of the satisfactory procedures, more substantive evidence will be collected. Of course not. If I'm satisfied with the procedures that I have claimed, I will be doing less substantive testing because I am satisfied. If I'm not satisfied with the procedures related to the audit, then probably I'll be doing more evidencing, right? So this is absolutely wrong. So your second and third is the absolute correct answer. I think this was a very commonsensical question, not related to a case scenario or the case study over here, but more of a sensible question. All right, let's move to the next question. So second and third is the correct answer. All right. Okay. in the audit of trade payables, so we are doing trade payables ka audit, which of the following is the correct reason for the procedure? So they have given us a procedure and we need to see which is the correct reason why are we performing this procedure. All right. Using automated audit tools and techniques, obtain a list of all the debit balances and obtain an explanation from the client regarding the debit balances that they have obtained. All right. So why are we going to do this is this will assess the completeness of recording of purchase invoices and ensure post year end invoices are included in payables if the goods were received before the year end. So as per me, I don't think so this is a correct answer. Sorry, this is, I think, the correct answer. Why? Because we are going to see the completeness of the recordings of the purchase invoices. So probably this is correct answer. Let's see. Let's go by elimination method again. This will confirm why the balance arose and help consider reclassifying the amounts as receivables. Now, I think this is slightly better than the previous one. The first one, if you see, it says it will ensure completeness of the recordings of purchase invoices, right? But here, because we are seeing the debit balances of what? The trade payables. So probably we have to see that there is a distinction between trade payables and receivables, and we have not clubbed them together, right? So here completeness makes little sense, but reclassifying or classification issue or seeing classification as correctly or no makes more sense. That is the reason in the question when we are reading, we sometimes get confused between two of them, and there's very slight difference between these two, right? So I think this is the correct answer, but let's read the third one and the fourth one to see if it is a better option we are able to find. This will agree the payables balance to an independent third party evidence. Now, I am questionable because yahan pe I don't see any third party evidences they're talking about. They're talking about my evidences only. There's no third party reference. So this is a straight no, right? This will confirm that the goods received to customers close to the year end have been recorded in the correct accounting period. Now, here also they're not seeing any post year end balances. Nothing of that sort is happening, right? If I want to see the cutoff or accounting period, I need to see if my pre and post matches, right? But here they're not talking about any pre and post matching in the statement, in this particular statement, right? So again, this does not make any sense. So I, as a student, I probably will eliminate these two, but I will get confused between these two. But again, if I see here classification, reclassifying, and why did the balance arise? Because I am seeing the list of the debit balances, that is the reason my second should be the correct answer. All right. Okay. This was little challenging, little difficult between 1 and 2, but you have to open your brains and see what can be the correct answer as per the concepts that we have understood before. All right. Next one. Okay. Okay. Identify by clicking on the relevant boxes in the table below whether each of the following procedures are appropriate or not appropriate. So if they're okay or if they are not okay. All right. Review payments after the year end to determine whether any accruals are required. Okay. So I'm reviewing the payments after the year end to see if I have any accruals left. So I have to pay anything extra to them. So if I need to do that, I need to see what I'm checking here is I'm checking if it is complete, right? If my payments are complete, because I'm cross verifying the year end payments to see if it is complete and I've made complete payments to my client. All right, to my supplier, I'm sorry. This will confirm classification of accrual listing. No, classification तो है नहीं, हमारा तो एक ही agenda है to see if my payments are okay or no. I'm checking if my accruals are there or no, right? So this is inappropriate, not appropriate. Why? Because this is not classification, this is completeness. All right, next one. Recalculate a sample of individual accruals. So individual accruals. So for example, I have, there is a supplier account, there is a payables account, I'm sorry, right? Here I have supplier A, supplier B, supplier C, all of their listing, 100 rupees, 100 rupees, 100 rupees, for example, right? I have to pay them 100 rupees. So I also will be having individual ledger accounts, which will be individual for A, individual for B, individual for C as well, right? So this is what individual, they are saying individual accruals. So individual accruals, I'll see isko 100 dena hai, isko 100 dena hai, and isko bhi 100 dena hai. And all of this is mentioned over here as well. The total I owe 300 rupees, right? So, and match to supporting documentation to ensure accrual has been correctly calculated and therefore test for under or overestimation of the accrual. So again, I will be checking it for supposedly to the vouchers, the supplier vouchers, to see एक्चुअल में डू आई एक्चुअली ओ 100 रुपीज टू दिस पर्सन या फिर इसमें कुछ टोटल में गड़बड़ है या फिर यहाँ पे कोई गड़बड़ है. So this makes absolutely sense because you'll be recalculating the totals of this, right? So that's that. Agree accruals to payments made after the year end to ensure accuracy of the balance and confirm the accruals are genuine. Again, this makes complete sense. I'm agreeing the accruals to the payments that are already made after the year end to check if I have made the right payments to the suppliers or no, if they're accurate or no. So that makes complete sense. All right. Okay. Next question. I think this was pretty easy, not very difficult. So here the first one is not appropriate, appropriate, appropriate. All right. Next question. Which of the following procedures on the provision for legal action is incorrect? So we have to see which. So out of these four, three would be absolutely correct. One would be wrong. So we need to see that. Okay. Discuss the provision with the directors to evaluate whether the company is liable for the payment and confirm that an out-of-court settlement is appropriate. Yes, this is fine. Why? Because yahan pe they're saying that probably we're going to do an out-of-court settlement. So this makes complete sense, right? Obtain a letter from FFF's lawyer. So you're obtaining a third-party confirmation to provide evidence on whether FFF may be liable for payment and check the amount provided is approximately correct. So if they, again, they're talking to the lawyers, which is absolutely correct. You're taking a third-party confirmation, makes absolute sense. So this is correct. Review any correspondence with the customer to help determine FFF's liability and determine whether the customer may accept the out-of-court settlement. Again, this makes complete sense because we are skeptical whether the customer will accept it or no. So that is again a correct option. If possible, trace the payment made before the year end to receipt from the customer, stating that the payment is accepted. So if now you are going to make your payment after the year end, so why are you doing it before? Why are you taking before year end? It should be post, not pre, right? When you are actually tracing the payment to see if they have accepted the full and final payment, my customer, agar supposingly I as a customer, I sued you and now you have to make me the payment. If you're checking the procedures as an auditor, I will see, did I as a customer receive the full and final payment or no? So I will be seeing post year end, not pre year end. Pre year end to hua hi nahi na. Post year end hoga when the settlement has been done with the customer. So this is post year end, not before the year end. Does not make sense. So this is incorrect procedure. All right. I hope we are okay with these three. And last one is not the correct option. All right. Okay. So this one. Okay. Last question. Okay. Which two of the following are substantive analytical procedures for wages and salaries? Now, analytical procedures, I hope you people know that there are two types of procedures when we're talking about substantive procedures. One is test of details, right? And another is your analytical procedures. Analytical procedures are basically trends. You are doing some comparison with the previous years, you're doing some ratio analysis, all of these, right? So they're saying what are the analytical procedures. So basically we need to see which two are test of details and which two are analytical procedures. All right. The first one says trace and agree the total wages and salaries expenses per payroll system to the draft financial statements. This is absolutely a test of details because we are seeing the detail, we are testing the details from the payroll system to the draft financial statement. So of course, recalculate the gross and net pay for the sample of employees, agree to the payroll records and investigate significant discrepancies. Sorry. Again, this is test of details because you're agreeing the details to the payroll records. So this is your test of details. Compare the current year total payment expenses to the prior year, investigate any differences. So this is your analytical procedure. This is test of details. This is your analytical procedures because you are seeing the trend between the previous year. So if I compare this amount to this amount, this is basically your analytical procedure because I am seeing the trend over here कि पिछले साल कितना था, इस साल कितना था, कितना increase हुआ, and I am also seeing the differences. So I'm seeing a trend of increase or trend of decrease, right? Perform a proof in total calculation and compare expected expenses to actual expenses within the draft financial statements. Again, this is a proof of your analytical procedures, because you're seeing you're comparing your expected expenses to the actual, so you're doing a comparison. So what I said over here is you're doing a comparison. So that is again part of your analytical procedures. So this one, your third third and fourth is the correct answer. So I hope with this we are done with the debrief for pre-June mock. I will also be doing the debrief live for your section B pre-June mock very soon. I've already uploaded the schedule on the port on the our Instagram account, so you can see that. I hope these were clear. If you people have any doubts, any questions, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you people.